This is section 2.4 of the textbook, and it's solving using what's called the multiplication property. So we're taking solving one step further. So if we go back to the fencing problem back from section 2.1, if a company receives 40 feet of fencing, how can I determine the side length of the fence? We had the expression 4x that represented the total perimeter, the total amount of fencing given an x side length. So if we know that that now equals 40, we have an equation to solve. And this is 4 times x equals 40. So the opposite, remember we use the opposite to solve. The opposite of multiplication is division. And so if we know that 4 times x equals 40, we can divide both sides by 4. And again, I write it twice. These 4's divide off, and you get x equals 40 divided by 4 is 10. And remember, when we're solving, that's what we're trying to get down to. X equals some number. So that would mean that each side length for this problem is 10, and it's measured in feet. So we're going to use that idea that the opposite of multiplication is division to work in solving by doing the opposite operation. So let's just start with these. If we have 27 equals negative 9 times x, the directions say solve for the variable. So right now the negative 9 is being multiplied by x, so we're going to divide by negative 9. When you're dividing, you use the same sign as the coefficient. So if the coefficient's negative, you divide by a negative. If the coefficient's positive, you divide by a positive. So we're going to divide by negative 9, and we get x on the right. So the negative 9's divide off. 27 divided by negative 9 is negative 3. And we like to write that x equals negative 3. So instead of adding or subtracting, now we're dividing to solve. So we're going to divide by negative 5 on both sides. Remember, we keep our equal sign in the middle. The negative 5's divide off. Negative 40 divided by negative 5 is going to be positive 8. So x equals 8 is our final answer. 7x equals negative 70. We're going to divide by 7. Again, we keep the sign the same, so this is a positive coefficient, so we divide by a positive. X equals negative 10. Negative 70 divided by 7 is negative 10. Here we go again. 42 equals negative 6w. Divide by negative 6. Those cancel. 42 divided by negative 6 is negative 7. And we can write that w equals negative 7. So what we're doing is still opposite operations, but this time we're using the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So let's look at a few. We have to do a little bit of work before we can divide. So the directions say combine like terms and then solve. So we have 4y minus 7y. So we can put those together because they're both y's. And so we can do keep, change, change. We should get negative 3y equals negative 12. And now we can divide. So we'll divide both sides by negative 3. And the negative 3's cancel. We should get y equals negative 12 divided by negative 3 is positive 4. So y equals positive 4. Again, if this is not enough room for you, always have some scratch paper to work on if you need to. Let's look over here. We have 3 minus 10 plus 7. All of that can be combined equals h plus 7h. So we can put those together as well. We only combine on each side of the equal sign separately. The 3 minus 10 we can do keep, change, change. 3 plus negative 10 is negative 7 plus 7 equals, if you just have h, that's 1h plus 7h, which is 8h. Negative 7 plus 7 is 0, and that's okay, equals 8h. We'll still divide by 8. And 0 divided by 8, I ran out of room here. 0 divided by 8 is 0. And those 8's divide equals h, so h equals 0. And it's okay to have 0 as an answer. Try the next one. Negative 28 equals, remember we talked about finding that equals sign and keeping it continuous throughout, straight down. So negative 28 equals negative 6n plus 10n. So we'll leave the negative 28 alone. Negative 6n plus 10n is positive 4n. And then from there, we'll divide both sides by 4. So we can get n by itself. Negative 28 divided by 4 is negative 7. And that would be n equals negative 7 as your final answer. If I'm going too fast, remember you can pause and rewind. If you'd like to pause and try the next one on your own, you're more than welcome to. If you're following along, then you can just keep following along. So just go at your own speed. Either just keep moving forward, or pause and go back, or pause and try, whatever feels comfortable for you. So here we have p minus 14p. We can combine those. And negative 2, or equals, sorry, negative 2 plus 18 minus 3, we can combine all of those. So remember this is 1p minus 14p. We can do keep, change, change. You should get positive, negative 13p equals negative 2 plus 18 is positive 16 minus 3 is 13. So negative 13p equals 13. Divide both sides by negative 13. I'm probably out of room. I'm going to pull it over here. You should get positive p. So remember we divide with the same sign. So the sign on the coefficient's negative, we divide by negative. Over here we have positive 13 divided by negative 13, which is negative 1. All of these should work out to integers for now. We'll get into fractions and decimals later. And the next one we have is what we call an understood negative 1. So if you just have a negative on the variable and no number, there's actually a 1 there. So negative x, it's hard to put in there, but it's actually negative 1x equals 6. Remember, we want our variable to be positive when we solve. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 1 to get positive x equals positive 6 divided by negative 1 is negative 6. So it's going to change the sign on the constant. So here we have 7 equals negative t. We're going to divide by negative 1. Positive 7 divided by negative 1 is negative 7. And the negatives divide off and you have t. And the better way to write that would be t equals negative 7. Here we have negative m equals negative 20. So we're going to divide by negative 1. And that way the m is now positive like it's supposed to be. Negative 20 divided by negative 1 is positive 20. Then we have negative 12 equals negative k. Again, we're going to divide by negative 1. Cancel those out. K. Negative 12 divided by negative 1 is positive 12. And so it would be k equals positive 12. So when you get down to a problem, if you end up with a negative variable, the way to undo that or the way to solve that is to divide by negative 1. And that will make sure that your answer, you want your variable to be positive. It doesn't really matter if the constant's positive or negative, but you want your variable, when you finish solving, your letter should end up as a positive. Alright, so now we're going to kind of put this together with some other skills that we've learned. The next part is to multiply to simplify, and then divide to solve. So it's a little bit of both. The first thing we're going to do is make these parentheses, fix those parentheses. So 3 times 2z is 6z equals negative 30. So that's called simplifying, right? We went from 3 times 2z down to 6z. We simplified. Now we're going to solve by dividing by the coefficient. And so you should get down to z equals -5. So the 6's divide off. You're left with just z. -30 divided by +6 is -5. If you'd like to pause the video and try the rest, you're more than welcome to, or you can watch me work through them. We have 50 equals, this is going to be -25p, and we'll divide by, -25. +50 divided by -25 is -2. This all divides off, and so you get p equals -2 as your final answer. And then we've got -2 times -4k. That becomes +8k equals 56. Divide by 8. We get k equals +56 divided by 8 is +7. Alright, and then the last one, -5 times 4r is -20r equals -80. We'll divide by -20. R equals -80 divided by -20 is +4. So we're simplifying and then solving, and those are two separate pieces. Remember, when we simplify, we keep it all on the same side of the equation. We don't change anything across the equal sign when we're simplifying. When we're solving, that's when we do a duplicate operation on both sides, and that's the solving step. Alright, so I have a couple that look pretty crazy. We're putting all the steps we've learned together. So we'll go through these nice and slow. Putting it all together. So the first thing you want to do when you see a big crazy problem like these two is to find the equal sign. On this side of the equal sign, we just have a nice little 27. Just leave the 27 alone for now. This side's got a lot going on. We need to multiply those together, we need to multiply those together, and then we'll probably need to combine like terms. So we've got -4 times -4, which is +16y. Then -9 times +2 is -18y. And then plus the 1y here at the end. So we just multiplied, and brought that down. And it's still 27 over here. So we're going to keep that 27. Now we're going to put these together. +16y minus 18y. I'm going to change colors. You can do keep, change, change. You should get -2y and then plus 1y. So we're almost there. We haven't done anything with the 27 yet. -2y plus 1y gives you -1y, or just -y. Then we'll use our dividing to solve. -1 divide by -1. So you want to get it down to one term on one side and one term on the other. Just one constant equals one variable. And the variable can have a coefficient, but we want to pull it all the way down to one term equals one term. And then it's time to divide. And so +27 divided by -1 is -27 equals y. So your final answer is y equals -27. And keep up with those negatives. We talked about really keeping up with those. Watch those negatives. That holds true throughout all your algebra courses. Watch those negatives. They will sneak away, or you'll miss one, and then you'll be totally off in your problem. So make sure to keep track of those negatives. And we'll try it one more time here. If you want to pause and try it on your own, you're more than welcome to. If not, I'll go through it. 58 minus 208. We're going to keep, change, change. You might have to work this off to the side. You should get -150. You can do that in your head, or you can work it off to the side. Or because one is positive and one is negative, we're actually going to subtract the two, and our final answer will be negative because the 208 is bigger. Alright, so we combine like terms there. Here's my equal sign. -b we can leave alone. We'll multiply those out. That makes negative 24b. We'll multiply those out. That makes negative 25b. So we have negative 150 equals negative b minus 24b minus 25b. So we can, let me change colors again. You have negative 1b minus 24b. You can keep change. That should give you negative 25b, and then I'll bring down this negative 25b, and it still equals 150. So all I did there was combine those two together. Now we're going to combine these two together. We have negative 25b minus 25b. We're going to keep change. You should get negative 50b equals negative 150. So negative 150 equals negative 50b. So again, we're down to one term with the variable equals our constant. When you get down to one term equals one term, it's time to divide. So we're going to divide by negative 50. Divide by negative 50. We'll just have b on the right. Negative 150 divided by negative 50 is positive 3. So b equals positive 3, and that's what we're trying to get down to. The variable, positive variable, equals a number. So that is taking solving one step further, adding on the step to divide at the end. So it's called the multiplication property, but really we're dividing on both sides at the very, very end, once we have one term equals one term. I'm going to pause there, and we'll do the next section, putting everything about solving all together.